Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, June 19, 2025. Time in Texas, about 4 p.m. So some of the things we'll cover are President Trump preps to hit Iran, it's believed, Russia's secret plan, and Cuba, Missile Crisis 2.0. Some of my sources are God in the Bible Patriot subscribers, Earthmaster, Prepper News, Hal Turner, 2 paragraphs, USA, AP, New York Prepper Plus. Let's get started. From the Houston Chronicle, we have that CenterPoint, a major electricity supplier in Texas, is going to be increasing and upgrading by $3.2 billion. And we have this coming out that the FBI Director Kash Patel has presented in a hearing to Congress the documents and evidence that the CCP orchestrated a coup in the United States of America regarding the presidential election of 2020. Can it be any wonder why it's believed that China is prepping to hit the U.S.? Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0. And we have this. As this information comes out about the CCP orchestrating a coup in the U.S. in 2020, it's not out of the realm of possibility to see in the U.S. federal Congress a mass casualty event, meaning that the people in Congress who voted to put JB in were complicit with the CCP. So we could see many being taken out of their congressional positions. It could be that the U.S. government, for a short time, will only have the executive branch operative. Now, in terms of a lot of House representatives and senators being taken out of their jobs, they can easily be replaced by their states' governors within 1 to 3 months. And we have this. So we have over the U.S. something like a heat dome from the West Coast to the East Coast. And we're seeing extreme temperatures, and Alaska having its first ever heat warning. From space, we have had in the past 24 hours a 1.2x flare, a 5.5 C, an 8.4 M. We do have 2 CMEs, it's believed, heading toward Earth to impact the Earth in the next 48 hours and give us a geomagnetic storm of 1 to 2. Earthmaster, and we know with increased sun activity, we have increased earthquakes. Earthmaster is documenting a swarm of earthquakes now in the mid-Atlantic ridge. So that's going on. And we have this, regarding the heat in the U.S., we can see increased temperatures from the Great Lakes to the East Coast. Daytime temperatures in the 90s, nighttime in the 70s. Friday, in Denver, Colorado, we could see a temperature of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. In D.C., 99 degrees. In New York City, 96 degrees. And I will put this forth with regard to temperature. When we had a major hurricane come through Texas, I was without electricity for about 10 days. And I experienced firsthand what are the impacts of heat on the human body. And I did research, and I found, to my surprise, that temperatures that impact humans is much lower than I thought. I thought it was 90 and 90. When you have 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 90% humidity, then, according to doctors, the human body loses its ability to cool down. Well, several universities and colleges have done studies, and the temperatures are actually much lower to impact human health. And that's about 82 to 87 degrees Fahrenheit. 82 would impact negatively humans with young children or older people or people who have chronic health issues. 87 degrees would be okay for people who are young and healthy. So just a heads up, when we are thinking about heat temperatures outside, I believe it's good to understand it's actually much lower in the 80s that will impact our health. Now, I want to bring this out, something I found recently. Alkaline water. I had this recommended and I researched it. The human body is about 70% water with a pH and neutral of 7. When your acidity or alkaline in regard to your water inside your body is less than 7, then it is acidic. When it's more than 7, then it becomes alkaline. I found out when you become dehydrated, your body does become slightly acidic. So to help in being hydrated, it's been my experience now, it's good to use some of the alkaline water. The way I'm using it now in South Texas, high summer temperatures, I just mix up my water on a daily basis, half distilled and half alkaline, and I do find that I feel better. So that's a little tip, to use some of the alkaline water to stay better hydrated, because we are coming into dangerous heat temperatures. And now we have this from 2 paragraphs. President Trump has changed the U.S. defense responsibility for Greenland. According to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth in a recent congressional hearing, President Trump has removed Greenland from the U.S. European Command to the Northern U.S. Military Command, bringing it more in line, Greenland, not under European U.S. Command, but rather under U.S. Homeland Northern Command. And we have this from USA Today. Yeah, many states, blue states with Dem governors, are experiencing catastrophic effects on their budgets with regard to the state providing health care for illegals. Primarily California, Illinois, and Minnesota are finding that they are having to cut benefits to illegals. Now, federal money cannot be used by the states to provide health care for illegals, so the states have been funding it themselves. Well, they find themselves unable to provide, so now the Dem states are having to cut health benefits to the illegals. And recall, we just saw in Minnesota, I put that video out, the Dems eat their own. We had a Minnesota House of Representative and her husband shot dead. And we had a Minnesota state senator and his wife shot. And it's because they were the two Dems in the House and Senate of Minnesota who voted to end health care benefits to illegals. The Dems eat their own. So that's going on. We have this. President Trump continues the U.S. military engagement along the U.S. southern border, primarily New Mexico, and we know Texas has its own Texas military, but the National Guard is also on the Texas border. And we have this new information coming out. Under President Trump, from January to May, 1 million illegals have been deported. Excuse me. We have this coming out from the New York Post. Yeah, President Trump, 1 million out. And we have rumors are going on that President Trump has been having security meetings. We know that's true. The rumors are that he has already selected the targets for Iran. And we do know from multiple sources within the last 48 hours, we've had refuelers and F-22 fighter jets going to the UK, and they're now being repositioned, the F-22s, in Jordan. We have more ships going to the Middle East also. And we have this. Okay, so overnight, Israel hit Iran last night. They hit a nuclear power plant that was the Iraq power plant and put it out of commission. It's being reported the U.S. used a bunker, Israel used a bunker buster, and they hit the Iraq nuclear power plant. That happened last night, and it's reported Israel did warn the people in the area of the nuclear power plant that it was going to be hit. So that's going on. And then, so Israel hit Iran last night. Iran then hit Israel overnight in Beersheba. It's reported Iran's target was the Israeli military intelligence location in Beersheba. That's located 1 mile from a hospital, and it's being reported the hospital was hit, Israeli hospital hit in Beersheba last night as collateral damage. Iran also hit Tel Aviv and other locations last night. New York Prepper reports Iran hit last night Tel Aviv, many apartment buildings, and Iran hit Israel's stock exchange, also located in Tel Aviv, plus the hospital in Beersheba. So that's going on. And we have this. Last night, New York Prepper reports we had 10 more U.S. KC-135 refuelers leaving the east coast of the U.S. Now, prior to that, we had, in the past 5 days, we had 36 refuelers, 17 of which went to Israel, and the remainder went to Europe. Then last night, we had 10 additional U.S. refuelers leaving the east coast of the U.S., it's believed, going to the Middle East. It is believed that the U.S. President Trump preps to hit Iran. And the location of that Iran was aiming for when it hit the hospital was the Sokoa Israeli Military Intel Building. It's located close to the hospital. We have this, that Mike Huckabee, President Trump's envoy to Israel, is reporting yesterday and this morning that the U.S. continues to evac embassy and American citizens from Israel and other locations. New information, the U.S. Embassy in Qatar has restricted its staff to the U.S. military air base in Qatar. And we have this. We have more ships, U.S. ships, going to the Middle East. We know we have the Nimitz inbound, and many people are putting out more rumors. The Nimitz, a 50-year-old U.S. carrier, is being prepositioned to be sunk, to be used as an FF. So we have also in this area, we have the Arleigh Burke, we have the Sullivans, and other carriers and other destroyers. And the Thomas Hudner is joining these U.S. warships in the Mediterranean. We have the Arleigh Burke also and the Sullivans in the Mediterranean. And we have carriers that are on the move, including Nimitz. So the U.S. is moving assets to the Middle East. We have this from Hal Turner. Yeah, last night Israel hit the Iraq nuclear power plant with the bunker buster. And this Iraq location originally was to produce plutonium to make 1 to 2 nuclear bombs per year. It's put out that Iran stopped doing that at this location in 2007. So, and Israel did warn the people in the area before it blew up the reactor. So that's going on. And we have this from Dr. William Mount. The deep state Rothschilds want the U.S. involved in a war right now. And it's believed the CIA is planning a false flag involving the Nimitz. And it's believed President Trump will use the U.S. military to hit Iran. We know President Trump had a security meeting scheduled for 11 a.m. this morning. We're hearing he had a second security meeting later this afternoon. And it's being reported from multiple sources that Chinese ships were moved into position this afternoon in the Persian Gulf, and that there are Chinese ships in the Caribbean right now, and it's believed the Chinese ships that are in the Caribbean pose a direct threat to the United States of America homeland. So we have the U.S., we've got Mexico, Central America, South America, Caribbean, Cuba. Now we know that Cuba and Russia both have military assets. China and Russia both have military assets in both Cuba and Venezuela. So we have multiple sources coming out that China also has recently moved Chinese warships into the Caribbean, and it's being reported This appears to be a setup for the Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0. Now, in early 1960s, there was the Cuban Missile Crisis involved Russian missiles in Cuba, with Russia threatening to bomb the U.S. President Kennedy was able to negotiate with Russia, and that threat went away. And it's believed the reason Russia took that stance in the early 1960s is because the U.S. had positioned large strategic bombs in Turkey, which Russia saw as a direct threat to Russia. So then Russia put bombs in Cuba and threatened to blow up the U.S. So this threat now, it's believed by China, and it's believed this has something to do with this new information coming out. The CCP orchestrated a coup in the U.S. in 2020. So the threat of the Chinese ships in the Caribbean would appear to be a potential danger to the U.S. I'm sure the U.S. military, the greatest military in the history of the world, according to my opinion, is well aware of this danger to us. So that's going on. And we have this. So with the Chinese ships located in the Persian Gulf, that's by Iran, it's believed that China possibly would help defend Iran and would fire upon U.S. ships and planes. So that's going on. Now we have this. Also, it's being reported by intel sources inside Israel that Iran is using new types of missiles. Some I've heard the Salig missile used by Iran, and a variant of the Fatah missile used by Iran against Israel. These new missiles, plus China is providing technology to Iran in electronic warfare, and between the new Iranian missiles and the Chinese electronic warfare, the Iron Dome is being impacted so that instead of taking down 90% of incoming missiles, it's now taking down only 65%. So we see China involving itself directly in the conflict between Iran and Israel. From Prepper News, we have this, that Prepper News has some sources that are providing details or a concept of a secret plan by Russia to help Iran defend itself against the U.S. as well as China. Now, Russia has an agreement with Iran. President Putin said that today that agreement did not include direct military involvement. So it's believed, and we do know, in the past 3 days, many cargo planes went from Russia and China into Iran, and we had multiple sources that Russian and Chinese troops are on the ground and they are operating the equipment they brought in. So it most likely is electronic warfare, the GPS targeting, that type intel equipment is being operated inside Iran by Russia and China right now. So it's believed that China already today has moved warships in. So it's believed that Russia may have a secret plan to increase its involvement in Iran defending itself against the U.S. by Russia holding off on directly defending Iran until the U.S. makes direct hits on Iran. It's believed that this agreement between Russia and Iran would cover that type assistance by Russia. And now we have this. Okay, David NINO Rodriguez, multiple sources, General Mike Flynn, Steve Bannon's contacts, plus, are putting this information out late this afternoon. Intel, and we know the doomsday plane has already been pre-positioned near Washington, D.C. Should President Trump have to enter it, the doomsday plane is available to the President of the United States, from which, in the air, the President can direct hits all over the world by air, land, and sea. And that there was the second emergency meeting this afternoon, and that it's coming out. China is providing Iran technology that's helping to take down the effectiveness of the Iron Dome over Israel. And that there is a direct threat to the East Coast from Chinese warships currently located in the Caribbean. And we have a statement this afternoon by General Mike Flynn that the next 72 to 96 hours could be filled with critical and dramatic events for America. And we have this. Yes, the Chinese warships recently placed in the Caribbean pose a direct threat to the United States of America. So we'll see what's going to come of all of this. It's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.